remember the first time the thought hit me, not like a whisper, not like a passing breeze, but like a heavy stone dropped into the still water of my mind. It was late at night, my room was quiet, except for the low hum of the refrigerator in the next room, and the faint, restless shuffle of my own thoughts. I stared at the ceiling, tracing the cracks in the paint as if they held some kind of answer. And there it was, that question, that truth I didn't want to acknowledge. I never asked to be here. It wasn't bitter, not exactly. It wasn't even angry yet. It was just a strange, cold awareness, like waking up in a moving train without remembering how you got on, or who bought the ticket, or where it's going. Everyone around you is just riding, talking, laughing, complaining, some even dancing in the aisle, and you wonder if any of them have realized that none of us chose to be passengers at all. Philosopher Thomas Nagel once wrote that the absurdity of life comes from the collision between the seriousness with which we take our lives and the possibility that all of it is arbitrary. That's what it felt like, my seriousness colliding head-on with the possibility that none of this was my decision to begin with. People talk about birth like it's a blessing. They hand you the script before you even learn to read. Life is a gift. You should be grateful. You should make the most of it. But what if the wrapping paper hides something you didn't want? What if the gift comes with a lifetime subscription you can't cancel? Schopenhauer saw life less as a gift and more as a debt we didn't agree to. He wrote, "It would have been better never to have been." Not out of spite, but from his observation that suffering seems to outweigh joy for most. And though I'm not sure I'd go as far as he did every day, I felt the gravity of his words, especially on those mornings when getting out of bed feels like dragging a stone uphill. I know, there's the whole, you're alive, you're breathing, look at all the beauty in the world, argument. And sure, there are sunsets that look like the sky has caught fire in the most delicate way. There are moments when laughter feels like oxygen, and when someone's touch makes you feel like your soul's been noticed. But still, the question remains. I never signed the contract, and yet, here I am, bound by it. We romanticize the starting line, we make birthdays a celebration, but if we stripped away the balloons and cake, what are we really celebrating? The moment you were thrown into an ocean you didn't choose, without asking if you even knew how to swim. The thing about being born without consent is that it's not just the birth, it's everything that follows. You inherit the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. You inherit the wars, the debt, the expectations. You inherit the tired stories of generations that came before you, their traumas, their unresolved pain, their unfinished dreams. They hand it to you without warning, without apology, and tell you to carry it forward. I think about my parents sometimes, not as mom and dad, but as two people, two flawed, complicated humans who were themselves born without consent. Maybe they didn't ask for this either. Maybe they were just repeating the script they were handed. That's what people do, they must have thought. You grow up, you fall in love, you have kids, you plant seeds in a garden you can't guarantee will have sunlight. And I know they loved me, in their own way. I know they tried, but love doesn't erase the truth that I never agreed to any of this. Love doesn't stop the existential weight from pressing against my ribs when I wake up some mornings wondering, why am I still here? David Benatar, a modern philosopher, calls this the asymmetry of existence. The absence of pain is good, even if no one experiences that good. But the absence of pleasure is not bad unless someone is deprived of it. In other words, if you never existed, you'd miss nothing, yet you'd avoid every suffering. It's a brutal thought, but it's hard to unhear once you've heard it. Life isn't fair. That's what they tell you early on, usually after something small but sharp, like your favorite toy breaking or someone pushing you on the playground. But what they don't tell you is that unfair is the default state of existence. You're born into circumstances you didn't choose, with bodies you didn't design, in societies you didn't vote for, playing by rules you had no hand in writing. They'll tell you to find meaning, to make your own purpose, and sometimes you do. Sometimes you build little sanctuaries for yourself. Friendships, art, music, quiet mornings with coffee. Albert Camus said we must imagine Sisyphus happy, even as he rolls his boulder forever. I've tried to do that, to see the act of pushing as the meaning itself, but sometimes the boulder is heavy, and the hill seems endless, and the metaphor feels like an insult. I remember once, I was about 11, lying on the grass in my backyard. It was summer, and the sky was this endless blue that felt almost hostile in its vastness. I thought about how far away the sun was, how small I was compared to the earth, and how small the earth was compared to everything else. It wasn't comforting, it was terrifying. Like realizing you're a single pixel in an image so large, you'll never see the whole thing. And that pixel, you never asked to be drawn in the first place. And yet, there's a strange duality to it. Sometimes the same thought that crushes you also frees you. If I never asked to be here, then maybe I'm not obligated to play the game the way they tell me to. Maybe I don't have to chase the same milestones, climb the same ladders, wear the same masks. But the pressure is still there. Society has this way of leaning on you, whispering deadlines in your ear. Get a job, buy a house, find someone, get married, have kids, repeat the cycle. It's like an assembly line for human lives, each stamped with the same instructions. And when you resist, you're seen as broken, as lazy, as lost. They don't realize maybe you're just awake. Seneca once wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there will be no end of them." It's a paradox. You didn't ask for life, yet you fear losing it. You didn't choose the journey, yet you still grip the railing when the ride shakes. I've met people who've told me life is inherently beautiful, and I've met people who've told me life is inherently cruel. I don't think it's either. I think life is indifferent. The rain falls on everyone. The sun rises for everyone. And the universe doesn't care whether you make it or not. Meaning isn't built into the machinery. You have to carve it out yourself, and even then, it's fragile. Sometimes I envy those who never think about this at all. The ones who take life at face value, who follow the script without questioning it. I wonder if they sleep better, if they feel lighter. But then again, maybe ignorance isn't bliss. It's just a quieter kind of cage. There's an ache in knowing you were born without consent, but there's also a peculiar kind of power in it. You didn't choose to arrive, but you can choose how to navigate. You can choose what you'll plant in this garden, even if you never wanted the soil in the first place. The older I get, the more I see that life is a constant negotiation between the things you can't control and the things you can. You didn't choose your starting point, but you can choose your direction. You can choose the people you walk with, the art you create, the kindness you give. You can choose when to rest, when to fight, and when to simply exist. But the truth, that deep, unshakable truth, still lingers in the background, like a faint hum behind every conversation, every plan, every birthday candle. I never asked for this, and maybe, just maybe, that's why I feel the need to keep speaking it out loud. Because in a world that demands gratitude without question, sometimes the most honest thing you can do is admit you never agreed to the terms. But here's the strange thing. Knowing you were born without consent can pull you in two directions at once. On some days, it makes you want to resist everything. To drop the rope in the middle of the tug of war, step off the field, and just watch the game from the sidelines. On other days, it makes you want to create so fiercely that you leave fingerprints all over the world just to prove you were here. The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus believed that once you understand the limits of life, you can free yourself from fear and focus only on what brings peace. He wrote that, "Death is nothing to us, because before we are born, we feel nothing, and after we die, we feel nothing." That's the same nothingness we might have stayed in if we were never brought here. It's supposed to be comforting, but for me, it's also a reminder. I was torn out of that stillness without being asked. And yet, even Epicurus knew that between birth and death, we are here, caught in this brief, strange flicker of consciousness, and what we do with it matters, even if it doesn't matter cosmically. Sometimes I think about what Camus called the revolt, the idea that even in an absurd, indifferent universe, we can respond not with despair, but with defiance. Maybe the refusal isn't just about rejecting the game. Maybe it's about rewriting the rules for yourself. Choosing meaning not because it's given to you, but because you took it for yourself. I've tried to live that way, but living like that isn't easy when the weight of existence still presses in at unexpected moments. You could be laughing at a joke, eating a good meal, lying in bed with someone you love, and out of nowhere, the thought slides in like a shadow across your mind. I didn't ask for this. It's not always sadness. Sometimes it's awe. Sometimes it's a kind of detached wonder, like looking at your own hands and thinking, what strange tools these are. Whose idea was this? The Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." That sentence has haunted me, because maybe part of why we feel this way, the heaviness, the resistance, isn't just that we were born without consent. It's that we were born into a system that's been shaped by centuries of fear, greed, and illusion. We didn't just inherit life, we inherited the mess, and yet that same inheritance means we also hold the possibility, however slim, of reshaping it. I think of the writer Schopenhauer, who wrote with a strange blend of despair and dark humor about the accident of birth. "It is not worth the bother of killing yourself," he said, "since you always kill yourself too late." It sounds grim, but there's something almost freeing in it, as if to say, the damage is done. You might as well wander through the absurd theater of it all and see what's behind the next curtain. But the theater has moments that make you want to walk out. War, loss, the slow decline of the people you love, your own body turning against you over time. You never agreed to be part of this cast, but you're written into every scene. And yet, there are also moments, tiny, fleeting, when the stage lights hit just right, when the way someone looks at you makes the whole mess feel worth it, if only for a second, or when you hear music that makes your chest ache in that beautiful, unbearable way, or when you stand in front of the ocean and it feels like the waves know your name, even if they don't care about you at all. Nietzsche said that to say yes to life, you must also say yes to its suffering, that joy and pain are bound together like night and day. I've never been entirely sure if I agree with him. Sometimes I think joy is just a brief rebellion against the suffering, not its twin, but maybe rebellion is enough. Maybe it's all we get. And perhaps that's the hidden gift of knowing you were born without consent. You stop pretending that life owes you anything. You stop expecting it to make sense. You stop searching for the perfect script, and instead you start scribbling your own notes in the margins. Still, I can't shake the image of that train I imagined years ago, the one I woke up on without a ticket. If I'm going to be a passenger, maybe I can at least move to a window seat. Watch the scenery, sketch it, write about it, talk to other passengers who are also wondering how they got here. Share snacks, laugh at the absurdity of it. Because if there's no cosmic reason for being here, then the only meaning is the one we stitch together out of shared moments and personal rebellions. But I don't want to romanticize it too much. There are days when the emptiness wins, days when even the smallest tasks feel like boulders, and the only thing you can do is let them sit there, blocking your path, and that's okay. If we never asked to be here, we don't have to earn our right to rest. Seneca wrote, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life." I like that idea, not as an inspirational poster quote, but as a quiet permission. If you see each day as its own tiny, self-contained existence, you stop expecting a grand arc. You stop waiting for the plot to make sense. You just focus on what this one day could hold. And in that space, maybe you find small answers. Not big, sweeping ones, just enough to keep going. The taste of ripe fruit, the sound of rain on the roof, the warmth of someone's hand, the way a song can catch you off guard and remind you that you're still here, still feeling, even if you never asked to. Maybe the real revolt isn't shouting at the sky about the injustice of being born. Maybe it's quietly, stubbornly choosing to live in a way that feels true to you. Ignoring the assembly line, resisting the pressure to produce, refusing to pass on the same unquestioned script to someone else. And if I'm honest, that's probably the deepest form of consent we can give after the fact. We can't choose the beginning, but we can shape the middle. We can say, I didn't ask for this, but I'll decide what I do with it. And maybe I'll leave behind a little less mess than I inherited. I don't have a neat conclusion for this. I'm not sure there is one. Maybe that's the point. Life is a draft, not a finished manuscript. We're all editing as we go, scratching out sentences, adding new paragraphs, sometimes tearing out entire pages. And one day, without asking again, it will end. The train will stop. The stage lights will go out. The curtain will fall. maybe that's when we return to the stillness we came from. Maybe it will feel like relief, maybe it will feel like nothing. But until then, I'll keep looking out the window. I'll keep writing in the margins. I'll keep talking to the others who know we were all born without consent, but are still here, still wondering, still searching, still making something out of the unasked for gift we've been given. And maybe that's enough.